Now we dive into the paper review of local and international papers, and I have with me here this morning Dr. Constance Ikoku, an analyst, commentator, and journalist. Glad to have you join me this morning.
Good morning, Andy. How are you?
Good.
Well, to review the papers with us, we have Chuks Akuna. He's the Executive Director of Authority Newspaper. Thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me. Good morning.
Yeah. Good morning to you, Chuks.
So, hello there and welcome to the program. We'll begin with This Day newspaper. In This Day, Tinubu Ariwoola's leadership in Judiciary impactful, enriched nation's jurisprudence. Swazin Kekereku. Today, President Bola Tinubu yesterday congratulated retiring Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Olukayode Ariwoola. He described Ariwoola's sojourn on the bench as a testament to the reward for hard work, dedication, and service to country and humanity. Ariwoola, on his part, observed that the implementation of the recommendations of a recent Justice Sector Reform Summit would go a long way in addressing many of the challenges confronting the courts and the judiciary as a whole. I mean, judicial decisions often reflect the moral and ethical standard of a society because through its rulings, judiciary can influence societal norms and values. As Ariwoola retires, I think some will celebrate him, others will continue to scrutinize his time in office. But, you know, we have a new CJN today, Chuks.
Yes, and when you talk about people scrutinizing Ariwoola's tenure, people that really come to mind are people like Professor Chido Dinkalu. Chido Dinkalu, professor of law, and he was a former chairman of the Human Rights Commission. You know, if you series of tweets, you know, Chido Dinkalu has been very, very virtually critic of the outgoing or the immediate past CJN. I think the CJN, the immediate past CJN Ariwoola, started on a very, very controversial note when during the crisis in PDP, he governors hosted him, and he made some very, very political statements. And ever since that time, you know, the radar of the media and legal watchers have been on him. And then appointments into the judiciary, you know, his family members and stuff, you know, these were the lows of his tenure as the CJN. And like you said, we have a new sheriff in town, Honorable Justice Kekereku is taking over the mantle of leadership today. And we hope that we shall be able to, under her tenure, you know, see the judiciary as the last hope of the common man.
Exactly. You know, Ariwoola hit the nail on the head when he talked about judicial reforms. You know, there were recommendations from a Justice Sector Summit. And a society that does not protect the rights and liberties of people, that has no checks on the powers of the executive or the government, and does not uphold the rule of law, it cannot run fairly and equitably, and that's dangerous for a society because those are the cornerstone of a democracy indeed.
Yeah, let's be clear. Soon we'll talk about the protesters, and it has to do with judiciary. And one expects that this will be one of the reforms that Kekereku, Justice Kudirat Kekereku, will be looking at. Yeah, one of his criticisms to Ariwoola as he passes out is the appointment of, I think, one of his sons or so into the judiciary, and then that political statement. Well, I am hot put if the way he did that was against, if you like, say justice, fine, but if he did that in a way that was not right, then you can criticize. But if his son was qualified or somebody close to him was qualified, I wonder why not. But then his tenure is over. So we watch and see what Kudirat, the second woman CJN, now we hope that she brings with her some new ideas into the judiciary.
Well, the bottom line is that the actions and inactions of judicial officers and those in authority definitely shapes the society and affects every other thing. So that's why it's important and people speak about these things. Let's move on to Vanguard Newspaper. End bad governance, release detained protesters. Now, Nayeko Arewayu's CSOs. Arena released protesters before August 25 or face legal action, Falana tells federal government. Of the 2,111 suspected people arrested during the protest, 1,403 had been remanded in prisons across the country. Emeritus Catholic Archbishop of Abuja, Cardinal John Onayeko, said the unarmed protesters are not the cause of Nigeria's problems. Our president, he quotes, "Our president told us he's ready for dialogue with all those who are unhappy. But is this how to ask for dialogue?" I mean, Cardinal Onayeko, adding his voice to this matter, certainly ups the ante. Protesters have rights to and cannot be held indefinitely. When the government continues down this path, it is further damaging, or it risks further damaging its image, doesn't it, Chooks?
Yes, exactly, and God bless Cardinal Onayeko for that. You know, ever since he was a Catholic bishop in my own Kwara state before he moved to Abuja, you know, he's been a voice of the oppressed. He's a symbol of hope, a beacon of hope for so many people. You know, I think he's close to 80s, 70s, and but you see, he's still speaking. He's not unlike several other clergymen who pretend, who are playing the ostrich. You see, Onayeko has come out to actually task the government, because, like what he said, you know, they are not the cause of bad governance. You know, they protested. So even if they got caught in the storm, you know, it's not their fault. It's not their own making, because anybody who had a decent living will not be caught in such web. So people are very, very hopeless. They seem very hopeless. The youth, you see, we have millions of graduates who graduate every year. You know, there's no end in sight. There are some courses you read today in Nigeria, you definitely will not get a job. You know, several courses. You see medical doctors struggling. You see nurses. And all we try to do is to enact very, very oppressive laws, you know, to shut people out. And that's exactly what Cardinal Onayeko is talking about. So government, we don't even have, our prisons are very, very congested. We don't have capacity to hold even those who have been convicted, let alone those who are awaiting trial. So it's high time we actually, you know, set the ball in motion and, you know, release this suspects, or try them as quickly as possible.
I know something Mr. Falana said. He mentioned that the police have to inform the Nigerian Bar Association in advance if any of these people are going to be arraigned, because they would like to prepare for their defense. And this is critical because a lot of them do not have the means to afford a lawyer, and so if that happens, they probably languish in jail.
Here's the thing. I watched the DNC, I think we even read it here yesterday, where a 95-year-old woman came to that convention.
Democratic National Convention.
Yes, 95 years. And was talking about the affairs of the nation. And Onayeko put it this way. He said, look, young people are not the cause of Nigeria's problem, and that the president has promised them dialogue. And he asked a rhetorical question. Is this the way to dialogue? The point is, number one, did these people commit any offense? If they did, Adeyanju, their lawyer, is saying that 27 of them were supposed to be arraigned, I think 2 times now. It's failed.
Yes. And
then, like you said, ASCAP, Falana is saying, if you're going to arraign these people, inform the NBA, so we'll get prepared. Otherwise, if you don't, by 25th, which is Sunday, I checked my watch to see the date, they will go to court. So, Onayeko says, the youths are not Nigeria's problem. The problem is the kind of policies that the government is churning out, which is causing the people not to breathe. I remember President Tinubu saying, let the poor breathe. So the question is, are the people breathing?
Oh, is the government letting the people breathe?
Exactly.
Right. Let's move on to Daily Trust. In Daily Trust, National Hospital plans VIP section for presidents, others. This section will cater to not only presidents, but top government officials and other respected personalities within and outside the country. A residential building or accommodation facility attached to the VIP section will be like a 5-star or 7-star hotel to cater for all categories of VIPs. Yeah, I pronounced that very well. This section will, hold clinic for kidney transplants, cardiac center, orthopedic center, as well as neuroscience institute for both training and services. Chuks, this is an interesting development. Don't we all need VIP treatments?
Exactly. We shouldn't be president or governor to enjoy VIP treatment. You know, everybody's
and healthcare in general.
Healthcare,
yes.
Exactly. You see, we talk about abandoned projects. If you drive a few kilometers from National Hospital, you see a National Cancer Center, you know, initiated by wife of the late head of President Umar Musa Yar'Adua. You know, it's been overtaken by rodents, it's been overtaken by snakes, by serpents. Nobody's talking about that. It's good, you know, better late they say than never. It's good that we're talking about thinking outside of the box, because President Buhari, he spent millions of taxpayers' money, you know, trying to seek medical attention abroad.
In the United Kingdom.
Yes, and
he
even
literally was living there.
Yes, and even as we speak, President Tinubu's trip abroad is also
goes to France.
Yes, shrouded in secrecy.
And interestingly, our planes were seized in France.
Yes,
and he's in France. That's where he goes to for his medical treatment.
Yes, and you one starts wondering if France were our colonial masters, why, you know, the love for Paris, you know, and they see Paris and leave. So very interesting. So it's good, like I said, you know, better late than never, because we all needed that conserve foreign forex. Because if we are able to build such hospitals and able to get manpower, because it's not enough to build the hospital, you know, to also get persons who can manage these hospitals, the equipment that they will bring into these hospitals, you know, that would be welcome development.
I mean, there is an Aso Rock clinic as well, which is supposed to cater to the president and some of the top officials there. But in general, health and well-being is critical. If you have a healthy nation, then they can contribute to, you know, the productive part of the country, the economy in general. So this is an important issue, indeed.
Again, here's the thing. You keep hearing the government or those who hold offices, I mean, like the medical director of the clinic, saying a hospital for the VIPs. Now, that wouldn't be bad, because, okay, the president should get some, if you like, preferential treatment, or the government VIPs. I mean,
privacy.
Yeah, after all, what's his name? President of the USA has the Air Force One. Yeah. The Vice President has the Air Force Two, and yeah, you know. But the thing is, if you're doing it for them, then also give the least that you can give for the masses of Nigerians who do not have the wherewithal to travel abroad or go wherever to get treatment. The real thing that interests me about what Jaji is saying in this is the renal clinic that he was talking about that's going to be established. And they might do it with PPP, is to attend to people with kidney. That is quite interesting. I don't think that is just for the VIPs. If that is built,
well, he says, this VIP section will house a renal clinic for kidney transplant. Well, let's also maybe imagine maybe it will be open to the public, but this is what he says.
Yeah, because the way that was spoken about was talking about a renal clinic for all, you know, which is what interests me there, because that kidney problem is one thing that really takes people's lives, and it's very expensive. I mean, kidney, diabetes, and all that. So we'll see how that plays out. But on the score of VIP for the hospital people, also do the same for the majority of Nigerians who are suffering from.
And if I might add, you know, let's not forget that this hospital was built by Abacha, you know, a man who wasn't elected president, a man who seized power through the barrel of a gun. So we will also keep reminding our politicians that democracy...
What legacies are you doing?
Exactly. We're talking about a national hospital almost nearly 30 years after Abacha built this hospital. How many hospitals have we built since return to democracy?
The same thing with our refineries.
These are questions we should be asking ourselves.
Right. Let's move on to Punch. Landowners sue FG over 15 trillion Lagos Calabar Highway. Mahi vows to continue project, insists government pays a compensation. Federal government rules out new roads in 2025, plans to complete existing projects. The Minister of Works, David Umahi, said the project received all necessary legal and procedural requirements before it commenced construction. The construction of the 700-kilometer coastal highway has been has seen court cases filed by aggrieved persons. I mean, from day one, this project was beset with controversy, and the speed with which it's been executed has fueled the general belief that there's more than meets the eye, but these court cases are not going away, Chooks.
Yeah, exactly. You see, our basic duty, according to the Constitution, is to hold the government accountable to the people. When, shortly after Mahi was sworn in as minister, the first brainwave he came up with was that he was going to build a supersonic highway from Lagos to Abuja, that motorists would spend not more than 4 hours to travel from Lagos to Abuja. And we did the math, even as a crow flies, if you're going to fly, you're going to go straight, which is not possible. It will still take, even if a car traveling at 160 kilometers per hour, will still take not less than 6 hours to come into Abuja. And apparently that project appears to have been jettisoned, and the second brainwave now is, of course, the Lagos-Calabar highway.
Coastal highway. Yes.
And you see, there's something you call environmental impact assessment. These are all studies. You have to design roads. You see, you don't just wake up and say you want to design, you want to build a road. There are several factors. It takes years of planning to actually come up with roads. But then you ask yourself, what is the state of our existing highways? Like I keep mentioning the Kefi Abuja highway.
Well, he said that from next year, no new projects. The other ones, the existing ones, will be completed. Yeah. So he's already speaking to the concerns of people. Nde, you can jump in.
Well, I remember that one of our reporters that's responsible for environment, Leila Johnson Salami, took Omahi up on what you called, talked about earlier on, the environmental assessment.
Impact assessment.
Impact assessment stuff, and I know that he even had bringbacks with the lady at a point in time. The thing that this is good, you don't just demolish people's houses or seize their lands. Let them go to court.
They are in court.
Let the court adjudicate. And like Chuk said, accountable. So that if the cases are won by these people, government will begin to understand that it can be a law unto itself.
Right.
Even government too. That's the important thing about this particular issue. I mean, you're talking about 750 houses on the Para Highway having been marked for demolition. Right compensations paid. Should they be brought down really?
And it's usually last-minute notice, and then you have to start.
Wouldn't have done such.
That's the point. So it's good that they stick to their guns, go to the court, let the courts adjudicate, and let the cases be handled swiftly and adjudicated on well, so we know where the government stands and where the people stand.
All right, citizens South Africa, moving on to international headlines. Business mafia strangles country. SA's landscape under siege from increasingly organized criminal networks known as business mafias and extortion rings. The groups began by extorting construction sector in KwaZulu-Natal. They have now expanded their operations across multiple industries and provinces such as the Eastern Cape, where local businesses have been forced to close down due to extortion, according to crime reports. I mean, this reminds me of the Omoniles in Lagos, all the thugs that, go around, harassing local or small businesses actually, and this is why they complain of multiple taxation and things like this sort of affects the economy, and that's what the story is talking about in South Africa, Chooks.
Yes, let's not lose focus of the fact that South Africa has one of the highest crime rates in Africa, if
yes,
not the world. We remember a time when one of their best musicians, Lucky Dube, was killed, and the excuse was that they thought he was Nigerian. Xenophobic attacks are part of history of South Africa, and then now we're seeing organized gangs, moving around.
Criminal networks, actually.
Exactly, and it speaks to the political leadership in the country. It's a very tough one since the end of apartheid in South Africa. The blacks, many blacks feel left out. They thought that they would try picking gold on the streets of South Africa. But now they watch reality TV and see that life, grass is always greener from afar. So the government has a lot on its plate, to ensure that people feel safe. People not only are safe, but people feel safe in South Africa.
I mean, there's an ophthalmologist that was forced to close down his practice because of this. So these are people that are creating jobs in your communities, and they have to go out of business because you're not thinking about the long-term impact on you as a community member. Well, let's go to Daily Telegraph. Okay. I'll bring it out there. Daily Telegraph. Unions push Labour to repeal Thatcher anti-strike laws. The Fire Brigades Union has put forward a motion demanding repeal of all anti-union laws and for positive legal rights for trade unions. And then we also hear that this FBU donated £100,000 towards Labour election campaign. And they're asking Keir Starmer to stick to his pledge to get rid of all Tory enacted laws since 2010. Well, the unions donated £100,000. Labour, they've come with their demands like any other lobbying group. Big businesses and corporate Britain that get themselves involved in election campaign, and then after that want their own share of the pie. Indeed.
Yeah, Labour did promise that. Is a Thatcher, what the unions call Thatcher anti-strike unionism. So it's in Labour's hand to be able to fulfill their promise. Just a little on what you were saying about the mafia, construction mafia. It started in KwaZulu-Natal about 10 years ago, and they're leveraging on local people. This happens in our climb too. I mean, I had a story of an investor who wanted to install, what was it, a light, something that had to do with light. And the people of the area were saying, except you give us some thousands of money, don't install it. And the man took his thing and went somewhere else and installed it. And you're wondering, what kind of mentality or paradigm do you have? Something to improve your economy, improve your life. So that's what we're seeing in South Africa. And because it's local, I think it should be addressed locally. Something should be done to it so people can carry their construction and invest if they need to invest.
And Chuks, your thoughts quickly on Labour and the unions.
In 1980, when Iron Lady Margaret Thatcher was Prime Minister, Parliament successfully passed certain laws that made it literally difficult for unions to actually go on strike, and to picket companies. So it's good that organized labor in the UK,
and this is their party.
Exactly, they are putting mounting pressure, on the Prime Minister, that this is a promise you made. We have to repeal these laws and make unionism more viable.
And will it not also be problematic because when it comes to the rail workers, for instance, they have been on strike for about 2 years. So Labour had to increase, their salaries, their wages they asked for, and then within 48 hours they were back to strike. And this is one of the reasons why a Republican Party, not Republican now, Tories would prefer that you don't have a stronger Labour union.
Well, the chicken has come to roost. We'll watch and see what Labour does. It's now at their doorstep. All right, thank you so much, Constance. And Chicks Akana for being here this morning. You've been watching the paper review.